This case is about Corey and how Corey became the ultimate victim of this defendant's punishment and abuse.
And it sucks. This is a kid. No child should die. No child should die. But it's not murder.
A 6-year-old boy in New Jersey is dead after serious medical episodes while in his father's care. Could his death be tied to chronic abuse, like his father apparently forcing him to run on a treadmill? That's what prosecutors say happened, but the defense argues not everything is as it seems. We're breaking down what we're learning in the case against Christopher Gregor. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey there, everybody. This is a Law&Crime legal alert and a Law&Crime YouTube takeover. Google Incognito tracked users' browsing data without their knowledge. Well, Mass Tort Alliance, one of our legal sponsors, is helping users file for compensation due to Google misleading the privacy of their incognito browser. So if you've used Google Incognito anytime since 2016, you can start your claim in less than 10 questions. Just go to incognitoclaims.com/LC takeover. Let me preface this next story by saying this is not an easy one to hear, and it is not an easy one for me to even talk about. It concerns a young boy named Corey Michelow. Corey was just 6 years old in April of 2021 when he woke up from a nap, and he was in very bad shape. He was apparently slurring his words, stumbling around, experiencing symptoms like nausea and shortness of breath. His father, Christopher Gregor, took him to get a CT scan, but that is where things got worse because Corey started having seizures and he died. Now, the boy's sudden death came 2 weeks after surveillance video inside of an apartment complex gym apparently shows Gregor forcing Corey to run at high speeds on a treadmill. An Ocean County, New Jersey medical examiner performed an autopsy on Corey's body, finding his cause of death was blunt force injuries with cardiac and liver contusions with acute inflammation and sepsis. That doctor did not rule on manner of death, instead listing it as undetermined. But a forensic pathologist followed up on the case in September of 2021, changing the manner of death to homicide, meaning death at the hands of another. That pathologist believes that Corey suffered an acute traumatic injury to his heart between 4 and 12 hours before he died. The doctor said that he found evidence of recurring physical abuse. So with that, let's go back to the timeline. March 20th, 2021, Gregor allegedly forced Corey to run on the gym treadmill. In the video, you can see Corey falling multiple times, getting back up. Gregor sometimes pulling him up by his shirt. He even appears to maybe bite him on the top of the head. Gregor was ultimately charged with child endangerment for that back in July of 2021. Pretty sickening, pretty disturbing, disgusting to see. But then you go to April 2nd, 2021, just a couple weeks after this treadmill incident, and Corey dies, apparently, as I said, from this trauma, this blunt force trauma. Gregor was charged with first-degree murder in connection with Corey's death in March of 2022, and since then he's been locked up in the Ocean County Jail without bond. Court records show that Gregor turned down a 30-year plea offer, now faces life in prison if he's convicted. But what about Corey's mother? Let's talk about her, Brianna Michelow. She and Gregor shared joint custody of Corey after Gregor had recently re-entered their lives. She claims that she had reported Gregor's alleged abuse to authorities but wasn't taken seriously. Now, she was the first witness to take the stand in Gregor's murder trial this week. We're going to get to that in a second, but let's just go back to how Gregor came into their lives. So Gregor says he got a court notification in 2017 about a paternity test for a child that he claims he didn't know he had. Brianna was looking for child support payments. So he took the test, realized he is, in fact, the father of Corey. Gregor's attorneys say he wanted to be a father. He wanted to be involved in his son's life. So he became a part of Corey's life when Corey was 5. And then not long after, Corey would no longer be in anyone's lives. Opening statements were delivered on Tuesday. Prosecution goes first. They have the burden. And here is prosecutor Jamie Schron talking a little bit more about young Corey.
Corey Travis Michelow. He liked the solar system. He liked to play outside. His mom describes him as silly and happy. Corey was 6 on April 2nd, 2021, when his father murdered him. His father is this defendant, Christopher Gregor. This case is about Corey and how Corey became the ultimate victim of this defendant's punishment and abuse. Back in March of 2021, Corey's parents hadn't been together, but they shared custody. Corey lived with the defendant, and his mom had visitation. On March 20th of 2021, Corey's mom picked him up for a visit. They went to Pennsylvania, and they saw their family. They were supposed to be back at about 3 or 4 o'clock. They were in Pennsylvania, there was traffic, and they were running late. Corey's mom told the defendant that. But Brianna's lateness, you'll hear, was pissing him off. He told Brianna to drop Corey off at the apartment complex's gym and meet him there. So she did. Corey and the defendant went into the gym, and you'll see what happened next. Because that gym had a surveillance system, and you will see what this defendant did to his son inside that gym. After that day, when Corey went back to school during the week, his teacher, his first grade teacher, started to notice some bruises on Corey. She was concerned. She's going to tell you that after March 25th of 2021, Corey was never physically back in person in school ever again. During this time, Corey's mom was also concerned. She had seen bruises as well. She was so concerned that she filed an emergent application with court to get custody. Corey wakes up in the morning. He has his breakfast. His mom dresses him in clean clothes. And he's with his mom the whole time. And she drives him back to the defendant's apartment in Barnegat. Corey and his mom sat in the car in the parking lot, and they said goodbye for what would be the very last time. Corey was walking. Corey was talking. Corey was fine, except for his bruises. By 9:03 a.m., Corey was back inside the defendant's apartment. And you'll hear that the defendant wasn't happy. But he told people, Corey's okay, Corey's all right. Except by 3:48 p.m., this defendant carried Corey's nearly limp body into Southern Ocean Medical Center. He reported that Corey was sleepy and had thrown up. Corey was admitted quickly. He was brought to room 6 in the emergency department. Corey coded. He was intubated. He coded again. He lost his pulse. And by 5:03 p.m., Corey was pronounced dead. This defendant, shortly after, walked out of the hospital, got into his car, and he left. Left the hospital, and he left Corey. There were a lot of people in Corey's life, and you'll hear about some of them. Some might be positive, and some might not. But don't let that derail you. You all came here to serve as jurors in this case with everything that you need. And those are your life experiences and your common sense. Use it. Corey was alive and well at 9 a.m. when he was with his mom, and he was gone by 5:03 p.m. after only being with his father, this defendant. The state submits that after you've heard and seen all of the evidence in this case, you will be firmly convinced that this defendant is guilty of abuse and murder. Because healthy 6-year-olds don't just die during the course of a business day, and neither did Corey Michelot.
So the prosecution is saying, look, Corey was in Gregor's custody. He was in his care. Gregor is seen on camera allegedly abusing this young boy. This young boy is covered in bruises. He dies suddenly out of nowhere. Wouldn't be too hard to connect the dots here. Wouldn't be too hard to prove that Gregor is responsible, that he caused the death of his son. The defense is saying, not so fast. They had their turn to deliver an opening statement, and they said, yeah, it's true. You're not going to look too kindly on our client. But that doesn't mean he killed his son. In fact, his mother, Brianna, spent the most time with him in the days leading up to his death. Here's attorney Mario Gallucci.
But you will see, and what I will agree with, is what Ms. Schron just told you about a treadmill video. You're going to see that on March 20th, Christopher takes that young boy into a gym that's part of his residential complex. And in that gym, you see him put Corey on the treadmill, and he begins to work out while he's watching him from across the room. At some point, you're going to see Christopher go over to that treadmill and speed it up. And you're going to see Corey fall. And you're going to see him pick that boy up 6 times. And 6 times put him back on the treadmill. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to like him. And I don't care if you like him. When you see that video, you're going to be horrified. You're going to be mortified. But I'm telling you right now that the evidence you're going to see of Corey's death had absolutely nothing to do with that treadmill. You will hear that when she sees the bruises, Ms. Piccolo, that she makes an emergency application to the court to regain the full custody, by the way, which she never, ever had gotten back from March of 2020. And that application was denied. She goes to Ivy Pediatrics, and they do an exam. They don't really find too much wrong with him, except he has bruises. They do blood work. They do tests. Healthy. Just like Michonne told you. Healthy. But they recommended to her that she follow up and that they would want to take her to Jersey Shore Medical Center to follow up on a child abuse allegation from the treadmill. You will see that Corey disclosed to the doctor at Ivy that my dad made me run on the treadmill, that I fell on the treadmill, and I also fell playing football. You will hear that she went against the advice of Ivy Pediatrics and left. And she took him to another hospital, Community Health Center, I believe it's called. And at that hospital, they did another evaluation. And during that evaluation, Corey was healthy, had a few bruises, but still suspected child abuse. We recommend to you that we take Corey to Jersey Shore Medical Center. And you're going to hear that when he was at Jersey Shore Medical Center, they found that he had a possibility of something called sepsis, which you'll understand from a doctor. I'm not a doctor, I'm a lawyer. but doctors are going to testify here. And you're going to understand that sepsis is your body's reaction to an infection. And it's a rapid response to that infection. And that rapid response, you're going to hear from doctors, will tell you, can show a child is loopy, disoriented, nauseous. And Jersey Shore Medical Center told her, Brianna, leave the child here. And she did not. She took Corey home, signed papers against medical advice. She took him home. You're going to hear testimony that he looked like he was drunk. And you're going to see Christopher drive him to Southern Ocean Medical Center. And you're going to see him pull up to the emergency department. And you're going to see him carry that little boy into a hospital. And you're going to see him standing there holding that child in his arms, which seems like hours, before anybody comes to help him. And they do. And they come and they help him and they take Christopher away, Corey away. And they start to do some testing. And then they decide they need to do a CAT scan. And while during the CAT scan, Corey seizes, goes into cardiac arrest. Life-saving techniques are now used to try to revive him. And he dies. And it sucks. This is a kid. No child should die. No child should die. But it's not murder.
It's interesting, right? Because it's a question of not only did Gregor kill his son or cause his death, but whether anyone killed him. Was it sepsis? And as we mentioned, Brianna Michelot, Corey's mom, was the first witness called to the stand. And we learned that she was 17 and in 11th grade when she gave birth to Corey in 2014. Gregor was in his early 20s, but as we said, Gregor didn't know about Corey until the boy was around 4. Michelot revealed on the stand why a family court granted Gregor the status of resident parent, meaning Corey lived with him and Michelot was allowed visitation before a judge approved joint custody.
Now, Brianna, have you struggled with substance abuse?
Yes.
And have you specifically struggled with drugs?
Yes.
And can you please tell the jurors about this?
Yes. In my early 20s, I struggled with drug abuse. When I was younger, I went through a lot, and I feel like I used the drugs to, suppress my emotions. I didn't really have the coping skills that I do now. And, like I said, I was just going through a lot, but I've been clean currently for a long time.
And have you ever used drugs in front of your son, Corey?
No.
And can you tell us why you were granted custody of Corey in October of 2020?
I went through a drug program, and I provided clean urines, and I just fought really hard because I hated living without my son.
Now, Corey's parents seemingly had a contentious relationship with each other, and this was documented a bit by the text messages between the two talking about how much time Corey was spending with one of them or the other.
Did you speak to Corey in the car before you sent him into the defendant's home?
I did.
And was that the last time that you spoke to Corey?
It was.
At 3:30 on April 2nd, what did the defendant tell you about Corey?
He said he was lethargic. His legs were hurting. He was sleeping all day. And he was throwing up and just didn't feel good. And then he told me to send Corey's insurance card to him.
And did you send the defendant Corey's insurance card?
I did.
And did the defendant say anything about taking Corey to the hospital?
Yes.
And did the defendant tell you what hospital he was taking Corey to?
No.
Was that the last time that you had spoken to the defendant on that day?
Yes.
And did you learn what hospital Corey was taken to?
Yes.
After the phone conversation, did you know at that time what hospital Corey was taken to?
No.
And at that time, what did you do?
I started calling the hospitals to see if Corey was there. I also called my local police department to kind of report Corey as like I don't know where he is, and he's not feeling good. He's sick.
And about 6 o'clock that day on the 2nd, did the police come to your home?
Yes.
And did you learn at that time that Corey had passed?
I did.
Now, on that same day that Corey passed away, did you go to the police station and provide a statement?
I did.
And when it came time for the defense to cross-examine Michelot, they focused first on her history of using methamphetamine and any relapses.
So, in January of 2020, you have a drug issue, you lose custody of Corey. In March of 2020, you still don't have custody of Corey. I believe it's in October, though, of 2020 that you're now allowed visitation.
I am, yes.
Okay. And in October of 2020, you then relapse in December of 2020.
Yes.
Does Christopher know that you relapsed in December of 2020? Did you tell him?
I don't believe I did.
Okay. And did you go back to rehab?
I did not.
Okay. Were you able to get over the addiction at that point?
No.
So you relapsed again?
Yes.
When did you relapse again?
I don't know. I have to think. Maybe February. I can't recall. It was on and off, like once or twice throughout.
February of 2021?
Yes.
And was that the last relapse?
Yes. Yes.
So from February of 2021 until you sit here today, you've been sober?
No.
Okay. So you relapsed again?
Okay. Yes, I did one time. Yes.
Okay. What was that?
Probably around the same time.
Did Christopher ask you to send him the insurance card information?
Around 3:30.
Do you remember in this Facebook chat? So that's the day Corey died,
It was.
okay? That's the day that you don't know what's going on, right? You don't have any idea what's going on yet, right?
Correct.
All right? And you're asking Justin to bring you a methamphetamine.
Yes.
So, and you said that you relapsed in February.
Yes.
Is that true?
I actually that day I didn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you wanted to do it.
I mean, yeah, I was very upset about my son being abused.
So you wanted a what is it?
Methamphetamine.
Methamphetamine. Do you recall on that same time, a little later in the afternoon, where you are saying, can I come over and buy one?
What time was this? 4:03. I do. Yeah. This is the same text message then. Yeah.
And do you recall then going on and saying, I mean, I could get it by myself.
Yes.
I just don't want that much.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean, I don't want that much?
I wasn't like in active addiction, so I didn't need much. So that's what that means.
So on the day that you are complaining that your son was allegedly abused by Christopher, you're asking your boyfriend to bring you methamphetamine.
I did.
Okay.
You can kind of see where the defense is going with this, right? They're trying to destroy Brianna Michelot's credibility. And we expect to hear from other family members, doctors, coroners, pathologists, and more during this trial as the jury tries to sort out exactly what injuries this little boy had, when he got them, and who's responsible, if anyone. We will continue to follow it for you right here on Sidebar. That's all we have for you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.